Vietnam to host World Economic Forum on ASEAN. And later on in our crosstalk, agriculture is considered promised land for Vietnamese startups. Hello there, you're tuning into another edition of BizLine here on VTV International. I'm your host Hoàng Hằng, and now let's take a look at some economic highlights over the past week. On his working visit to the U.S., Deputy Prime Minister Vương Đình Huệ attended and gave a speech at the conference Investing in Vietnam, Potentials and Opportunities, organized by Vietnam's FLC Group in Washington, D.C. Speaking at the seminar, he confirmed advantages that foreign investors can enjoy in Vietnam, including a market with a population of nearly 100 million, a rapidly growing middle class, and a young workforce with many startup aspirations. In addition, the government of Vietnam has prioritized developing a facilitating government that acts on behalf of the people and businesses. On the sideline of the event, property developer FLC Group, which owns Bamboo Airways, signed an agreement to buy 20 Dreamliner aircraft from American Boeing Company. The agreement, worth up to $5.6 billion, is the Vietnamese carrier's first deal to purchase wide-body aircraft. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced at a press conference on Wednesday that Vietnam will be hosting the 27th World Economic Forum, or WEF, on ASEAN from September the 11th to the 13th. The event will bring together the leaders of ASEAN and regional nations, representatives of international organizations, policymakers, experts, scholars, and business leaders from around the world. Deputy Foreign Minister Bùi Thanh Sơn stressed that the World Economic Forum on ASEAN this year is very practical as it revolves around entrepreneurship and the fourth industrial revolution, something that Vietnam and the other ASEAN nations are concerned about. Aside from the 55 main discussion sessions, there will also be an open forum on startups and innovations, a Vietnamese culture gala night, and a Vietnam Business Forum. European Commissioner of Trade Cecilia Malmström and Vietnamese Minister of Industry and Trade Trần Tuấn Anh officially completed the legal review of the EVFTA on Monday. They also reached an agreement on all contents of the Investment Protection Agreement between Vietnam and the European Union. The two agreements will soon to be submitted to relevant authorities of both sides to further signing and subsequent ratification. The EU will continue to support Vietnam in building a legal system and fulfilling its commitments. Both sides have exchanged and agreed on a general plan to strive for the completion of technical translation and legal review work by year-end. The signing is expected to take place at the end of 2018, and the subsequent ratification will happen in early 2019. Vietnam attracted more than $20 billion in foreign direct investment, or FDI, in the first half of 2018. The capital was poured into 1,360 new projects and 507 existing ones, and was used to contribute capital and buy shares in domestic companies. In recent years, foreign investment accounted for 25% of the country's total investments and contributed 20% of GDP. Last year, the sector contributed nearly $8 billion to the state budget, accounting for 14.4% of total revenue. At present, 58% of foreign investments have been focused in processing and manufacturing, generating half of the industrial production value. Along with creating jobs and increasing the quality of human resources, FDI enterprises have also helped transfer advanced technologies to domestic firms. Capital contributions and share purchases by foreign investors via mergers and acquisitions, or M&As, in Ho Chi Minh City amounted to $2.5 billion in the first 5 months of the year. This amount was 3.6 times higher than the value of foreign direct investments, according to the Ho Chi Minh City Department of Planning and Investment. Foreign investors conducted over 1,100 M&A deals with local companies in the January-May period. Ho Chi Minh City took the lead in terms of M&A deals last year. Data from the Foreign Investment Department show foreign investors injected $6.19 billion into capital contribution and share acquisition, of which the city accounted for a staggering 60% of the amount. The delegation of officials from the EU Commission's or EC Directorate General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries has sent the results of its inspection. Accordingly, the EC will not remove the yellow card for the moment. After their inspection in Bình Định and Kiên Giang provinces, the delegation recognized the efforts of Vietnamese authorities and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in dealing with EC's warnings. However, they said that more improvements are needed when it comes to preventing illegal, unreported and unregulated or IUU fishing. Stricter monitoring and tougher penalties need to be put in place. The EC also asked all 15-meter to 24-meter long fishing vessels to install satellite journey monitoring devices and suggested Vietnam to not build any new ships as the current number is too high. The yellow card makes it harder for Vietnamese aquatic products to enter the EU. Meanwhile, a red card entails a total ban on aquatic product imports into this market. Vietnam officially exported its first batch of fresh pork to Myanmar. At least 26 tons of fresh pork will be exported to Myanmar each month under this contract. According to negotiations, the export price of Vietnam's fresh pork is roughly 15% higher than the international price. However, this also means that Vietnam needs to meet many requirements in terms of quality and technology. Apart from fresh pork, Vietnam also aims to export processed products such as ham, sausage, and smoked meat. Vietnamese pork is also expected to be sold in many other countries. In the coming month, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development will cooperate with the World Animal Health Organization in pest control to meet export standards. Grab's biggest rival company in Southeast Asia, Gojek, has officially entered the Vietnamese market under the name GoViet. GoViet was founded by Vietnamese and supported by Gojek in terms of technology and finances. This is part of Gojek's plan to expand in the Southeast Asian market. Based in Jakarta, Indonesia, Gojek's shares in the region are estimated to be worth $500 million in Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, and the Philippines. GoViet will officially be implemented in Ho Chi Minh City in July, alongside motorbike hailing and goods transporting services. Those are some economic highlights over the past week. Up next in our crosstalk, we will see how agriculture is considered a promised land for Vietnamese startups. As Vietnam gears toward the consumption of safe and clean agricultural products, farmers have also changed their perception of agricultural production, and they have been striving to improve the quality of their products. The value of agricultural production is improving, and the technology is developing rapidly with the help of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. These factors have made the agricultural sector a promised land for startups. In fact, there already are successful startups in the agriculture sector, but not many. So what are the paths for startups to develop in agriculture? This week's BizLine tries to find out. But first, let's take a look at Vietnam's agricultural potential in the following clip.
Vietnam's agroforestry fishery exports reached $36.37 billion in 2017. In the first 6 months of 2018 alone, agroforestry fishery exports reached $19.4 billion, an increase of 12% over the same period of 2017. Rice, vegetables, cashew nuts, and seafood saw high export growth. China, the United States, and South Korea are the three largest export markets for Vietnam. In addition, many Vietnamese agro-fishery products have been accepted by demanding markets. Examples such as lychees, which have been accepted in Australia, Vietnamese mangoes that are exported to Japan, and rising shrimp exports to the EU market. This opens up many opportunities for agricultural development, as well as for Vietnamese agriculture startups in the future.
Joining our BizLine this week is Mr. Phan Vinh Quang, Deputy Project Director of the Mekong Business Initiative. MBI is also the sponsor of an agricultural startup accelerator program called Match. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, MBI is an advocate for business and agricultural development in the Mekong region. What can you say about the agriculture sector of Vietnam? What are the comparative advantages for Vietnam compared to other Mekong countries?
Yeah, MBI's, we support private sector development in the Mekong countries, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. And when you look at the Mekong countries, agriculture is an important sector. It employs about 60% of the people, and it has a lot of potential. And Vietnam is the #1 exporter in several commodities, rice, coffees, cashew nut, and those are the sectors where Vietnam has comparative advantage. But when you look more deeply into those sectors, you see that most of Vietnam export are like raw materials or unprocessed products, and the value added is not high. This shows that with technology and investment, we can add a lot of value to our export. And I think the agriculture, as you said, is a promised land for startup. I think the room for improvement is huge. I think there's a lot of innovation in the ag space right now in Vietnam, and we're not far behind. I think we know all the technologies. The Vietnamese entrepreneurs and technology and engineers learn very quickly, but the application of the technologies, I think, need improvement.
What can you tell us about the successful business startup in the country in terms of agriculture?
There's a couple of stories that people talk about, like Mimosa Techs and a couple of others. But recently we conducted the Match program, and we found that there's a lot of very interesting technologies and ideas in Vietnam. And startup ranging from developing applications, blockchain technologies, AI technologies, and all sort of the revolution 4.0 technologies. But we also find startup in sort of very traditional sectors like biotechnologies, in microorganisms, and a lot of the other sectors. And they are solving the real problem of Vietnam. In Match program, we have one company called Cricket One. They invented a new ways of farming cricket, and from cricket they produce protein powder, and then they export protein powders to people that make protein bar. So it's not just the 4.1 technologies, but there's also other kind of technologies that are sort of popping up in Vietnam. I mean, when those sort of solutions, when they combine, they work better. So I hope that they will bring better results to the farmer and the economy.
The Mekong Agricultural Technology Challenge, or Match, was launched by MBI in 2017. Match, an agricultural startups accelerator program, seeks to enhance the competitiveness, inclusiveness, and sustainability of the Mekong region's agricultural industry. 23 startups have been invited to join its 2018 program, includes 13 startups from Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam, as well as 10 international firms proposing agri-tech solutions for these markets. Participants had opportunities to win innovation grants, receive mentorship and assistance with their expansion plans, and forge relationships with potential partners and investors. Out of 12 finalists in the program, 6 are Vietnamese startups. Vietnam was first prize winner of Match 2018.
What are the results of Match program, and how has it supported the Vietnamese startup community?
I think Match is the first acceleration program on agricultural startup in Vietnam and Mekong countries. It's actually a regional program. Vietnam performed pretty well. I think people really appreciate the initiation and the innovation of our Vietnamese startup. And out of the 12 finalists, I think 6 of them from Vietnam. On the startup side, we see a lot of great technologies, great people, and when they got together, sort of great mind meet. When they got together, they create all kinds of collaboration. We have one guy from Laos, Boulevard Farm. He met the Australia blockchain solution provider, and they now applying the solution in Papua New Guinea, because he also developing a coffee farm there. So there's a lot of like informal relationship and connection that we bring people together, and we try to build a communities out of it. So community of agri-tech startup in Vietnam, and also community of agri-tech startup in the region, the Mekong region. We're not giving cash to winner, and we basically say this is the price, but you need to find service provider, and we will pay the service provider to help you to grow your business. For example, the cricket one, for example, the first prize winner from Vietnam, we help them to look at their factory plan and make sure that it meets international standard for their export. And we pay for their participation in international trade fair and market, and they found new customer there.
Now, in your opinion, how should a business start up in agriculture?
I think the most important thing is they need to solve a real life problem. I think their solution have to match the market, and I think there's no alternative to studying hard, working with the farmer, working with the company, and understand the market problem and respond to those opportunities. So I think there's no secret there, really. Okay. It's all startups start that way.
As you say, Vietnam is a top exporter in many commodities, but we have yet to make a national brand name out of those exports. So how should startups do branding for their products to make them more well known to the world?
Building a brand is a long-term vision, and it takes a lot of time and resources to do it. If you look at the famous brand in the world, in agriculture and in other sectors, that's all of them like 100 years old. But nowadays with the technologies, I think there's good ways of an easier way of building your brand. And I think for a startup, the best way is really to associate it with its owner. So people look at the startup, they really look at the owner. So I think there's a little bit of sort of a personal branding and the company branding, they mix together. And there's also tools on internet, the Facebook, social media, that can help startups to build their brand and company more cheaply. And I think they need to research their customer. And now also there's many ways of reaching customer and build their brand on sort of what the customer want. And I think the best way to build the brand is to bring the user experience. When they have the positive user experience, then the brand is built. Having a good brand is not like an overnight story. It takes a lot of time and resources. So what I'm saying is not easy, but when you don't have a lot of money and resources, you just have to be creative in building your brand.
Planting and eating clean vegetables is the main objective of the aquaponics system, combining hydroponics and aquaculture, launched by this startup. After more than a year of launching, the startup is known by customers to have strict standards and high-quality products.
Những vật liệu để dùng cho aquaponics này thì phải đủ cái tiêu chuẩn gọi là sạch và an toàn. Không, ví dụ như các thùng nước không chứa các cái kim loại nặng, tất cả là nhựa nguyên sinh và nhựa mới hoàn toàn. Giống F1, không lai, không nhập.
Mình sẽ giảm thiểu được cái thời gian mà mình chăm sóc. Là tất cả hệ thống là tự động hoàn toàn và mình không phải lo tưới cây, không phải lo coi như là xem là ngày nắng hay ngày mưa thế nào cả.
The founder of aquaponics works in technology. His decision to turn to agriculture was accompanied by a team of experts from marketing to research and construction.
Bây giờ mình làm ở cái gọi là cân bằng hơn, mấy dạng đầu tư tận dụng được cái kinh nghiệm từ mười mấy năm chính là cái làm online, tức là làm digital marketing, làm marketing online cho cái hệ này. Còn về mặt chuyên môn thì thực ra thì mình có cái team giao, tức là họ nghiên cứu về lắp đặt rồi về quy trình rồi về cái kiến thức về nông nghiệp.
Another solution in agriculture, Mimosatech is a young startup in the field of Internet of Things, providing accurate irrigation solutions for plants. Mimosatech solutions include a weather forecasting device, sensors located in a crop area, a monitoring device, a cloud platform to receive data from monitoring device, an application on users' mobile devices to manage irrigation,
Mimosa mình làm từ phần cứng cho đến những cái sản phẩm phần mềm, cho đến những cái ứng dụng trên điện thoại di động. Làm sao mình lượng hóa được tất cả các thông tin để người nông dân thay vì dựa vào kinh nghiệm sẽ dựa trên các thông tin và được chỉ dẫn bởi các thông tin để làm công việc làm nông nó diễn ra chính xác.
Mimosa Tech is trying to minimize the cost of its technological devices so that customers only need spend between 15 to 20 million Vietnamese đồng per hectare.
Không phải lúc nào công nghệ cao cũng là đắt tiền, mà có phù hợp với từng nhu cầu thì có những công nghệ vừa phải, thì càng có nhiều sự lựa chọn đa dạng thì các hộ nông dân họ có thể đưa được cái công nghệ mà phù hợp với túi tiền của mình, mà đúng với nhu cầu của mình để mà giúp cho cải thiện cái quy trình sản xuất nó ngày càng mang tính là bền vững hơn.
In 2015, Mimosa Tech won first prize of the Venture Cup sponsored by IDG Venture. Mimosa Tech's vision is to bring a healthy harvest to Vietnamese farmers because no one can better understand and farm in Vietnam.
So in your opinion, is technology vital for startups in agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have technology, why you start your company, frankly? But I think technology here should be interpreted more broadly. I think technology don't have to be like, how can I say, sort of a super high tech. Don't have to be always blockchain or AIs or big data. Those what a lot of people talking about. I mean, technology can be just be a new ways of doing things, a better way of doing things. So I mean, just give you an example. One of the sort of entrepreneur, he introduced the Americans. What is this? In Vietnamese, is sung mỹ. I think it's American fruit in Vietnam. Very successful. He sell a lot, and now it's become fashionable. And yeah, it's a startup, and it's he introduced it and farm it in a new way and sell it. So it don't have to be like ICT related. It could be biotechnology. It could be microorganisms and a lot of other things.
How can startups learn from successful examples such as Mimosa Tech and Aquaphonic and so on?
I think the first lesson is really solving the market problem. I think that's really is a starting point. If you are not solving a problem, then your startup is not going to get traction. I think the second thing is commitment. I think you have to be very strongly committed to starting a company, because it's not easy, frankly. And you have to be very serious and transparent, because if you want to work with people, because startup is not just working by itself, it have to work with partner, it have to work with investor, have to work with farmers and others. So you have to be serious and transparent. I think that's the key to building sort of lasting partnership.
Now, Israel concentrates on high-tech agriculture startups, meaning that they mostly sell high-tech solutions. So what do you think Vietnam should head toward in terms of promoting more startups in agriculture?
Israel sort of likes almost everything to do agriculture. So that's why they invented all kinds of interesting technologies. I think for Vietnam, I think we have, I mean, we often say that we have all kinds of favorable conditions for agriculture. But look at our agriculture. I think we can learn a lot from Israel, and I think I don't think there's sort of a prescribed sort of formula for success. I think let the market work. I think there could be sort of technologies from Israel that we can adopt as a user of the technologies, but there are also other ways of we can innovate with a lot of young talent. And the need there from the farmers and the demand from the international market. Organic is very fashionable now. I just went to US last month, and I was there about 3 years or 4 years ago, and I look at the supermarket sale now. A lot more organics are on the sale of the supermarket, and that could be an area where we can make a difference. But again, it takes time and resources to do it, and with technologies and investment, I think that we can do it.
Young entrepreneurs are increasingly buying into the startup ecosystem concept. However, finding investment is no easy task. Even angel investors who contribute their capital to a startup company and in return for a share of that company are experiencing a hard time, as only 1 out of 10 startups grow to be successful. Choosing to invest in startups is a risky decision.
Nguy cơ lớn nhất là mất toàn bộ tiền. Ở Việt Nam thì có cái đầu tư khởi nghiệp này thì nó cũng tương đối là mới, hoặc là các nhà đầu tư thiên thần hoặc các quỹ đầu tư thì về mặt các cơ chế pháp lý về bảo đảm cái nguồn vốn, các cái chế tài thì cũng còn nhiều thiếu.
Nó rất là rủi ro, cái tỷ lệ rủi ro nó cao rất là nhiều so với mọi người đầu tư vào những cái truyền thống như là công ty lớn hơn đầu tư chứng khoán, đầu tư vàng, đầu tư bất động sản. Chúng ta cũng chưa có những cái khuyến khích để các người đầu tư.
Programs are being launched to foster the development of startup companies and to draft a circular on venture capital for startups.
Chi phí để mà xây dựng, gọi là khởi lập, thành lập để mà chạy một cái doanh nghiệp tại Việt Nam hiện nay thì cũng còn khá cao, kể cả về thời gian cũng như các cái thủ tục. Và chính phủ đang rất là nỗ lực để giảm bớt những cái thủ tục hành chính đó, thì chính là giảm bớt cái chi phí đầu tư ban đầu của startup và cũng chính là giảm bớt cái tiền đầu tư ban đầu của nhà đầu tư thiên thần.
Vietnam had 2,000 new businesses in the agricultural sector last year. Efforts to develop a startup ecosystem are also expected to help further investment in agricultural startups in the coming years.
Attracting capital into agriculture is hard even for more established companies. So how do you feel about startups in this field in Vietnam in recent years? And if you were a CEO of an investment fund, would you invest in startups in Vietnam?
Investor want good business to invest in. And if agri-tech startup are good business, they will invest. I know that some startup here in Vietnam in agriculture already have some funding. I think to get funding, you really need to focus on your business. If you're good, if you're making a difference, if you have a really good potential, I think investor will invest in you. And I mean, if I was a CEO of a fund, yeah, probably I would invest in some of the very good startups in agriculture that I know.
Besides technology and capital, what should startup develop to make their business a success?
I think listen to your customer. I think that's really number one for success in business. And if you want to solve the problem, I think there's no alternative to listening to your customer and sort of keep improving what you have. And we talked in the past about the positive user experience. I think there's a lot of room for startup to make a difference there. Big company, not necessarily the one that have the best customer experience. So I think that's where I think the startups should focus on. And of course, I mean, they have to improve their solution and products as well. I think that sort of go hand in hand.
And last but not least, what is your one message for startups, for Vietnamese startups in agriculture?
Try your best and don't regret. So now you have time, you have passion, you have idea. Try it. Otherwise, later you say, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. So that's what I say, try your best and don't regret. So if you have an idea, you go out and try it and talk to people. And if you fail, that's fine. You still have like plenty of time and to correct it, or start another business, or do other things. So try it hard and don't regret.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Startup experts say that market research is crucial for an agriculture startup project. They advise startups to think how they can provide what the market needs, to be patient in realizing their ideas, and to invest in technology and to create appropriate business model. That being said, the diversification and development of Vietnam's agriculture is considered to be ideal for startups to thrive and reshape the sector in the future. That's it for this edition of BizLine. For more news and updates, please log on to vtv4.vn, our YouTube channel at VTV4Go. Thanks very much for watching, and until next time.